Hope everybody's doing okay. This is Slaves of Satan Part 50. And if anybody has made it to this point right now, if you came in with any type of skepticism, I imagine that those doubts have been completely obliterated at this point. Because I would deem to ask somebody that's still doubting it, how many coincidences and connections do you have to see in a row until it becomes basically mathematically impossible? And something that I reiterate and will continue to do so is that these are in like what I call building block or type videos. So to understand the message of where all these are getting at, then you do have to watch all of them in order. And while there is plenty of information to be gained from just cherry picking and picking and choosing at them, you get the story if you watch them all in order. And I would say that it's highly worth it. Some of these videos contain a very rare information that in my opinion, some of these I don't even know if you can find anywhere else on YouTube, or some stuff very difficult to find, even on the what people would say the dark corners of the internet. So I want to break down this whole thing with Anton, lavey, with people claiming that it was non-theistic Satanism, meaning that they did not believe in a literal devil. I do not believe that. People have been hoodwinked for about 60 years into believing it. And while the members don't worship the devil, I can assure you Anton lavey does. But even say he did not, that is not even the big picture, because you don't need to believe in Satan to use powerful magic and be a very dangerous sorcerer. And people might have been wondering why I've taken so long to get to this. And that goes back to what I was saying, the building block thing. Chronologically, I started in the 19th century, and I did go back further when I felt like it was needed, and I will continue to. But basically, this is the next big thing that happened after, I would say, the UFO boom. Yeah, I would say that had its big run for about a decade, then later had its resurgence. Then the next thing was the Church of Satan. Okay. So let's look at his resume. And I like to humanize these people more than other platforms or Christians do. 1 second. Sorry, just wanted to make sure that it was recording, because this is going to be a long video. So like I was saying, I like to humanize these people because you get more of it when you look at their life and what they did before they got into the terrible stuff. So like I said, writer, musician, Satanist, founder of the Church of Satan, founder of Laveyan Satanism philosophy. Okay, so Laveyan Satanism. Now, this is what they tell the public. They tell the public that we don't believe in a literal Satan or devil of the Bible or any religious institute. They say we believe that the devil is an archetype of darkness that we can call upon and gain power from. And he's not wrong. there is a literal devil. He knew it. He would not admit it because he knew that he would not get the followers that he did. Because lavey, he liked money. He wanted that bread. So he knew that he would not attract any type of high level or even mid level celebrities if they thought that there was like major ritual magic going on in his black house or sacrifices or anything like that. And while this stuff was going on behind the scenes, he really worked hard to portray this non-theistic Satanist. Basically, he made it seem like it was like a home for rebels and people that felt like they was let down by organized religion. And also the Satanic Bible, which is dangerous if you hand it to somebody that's very selfish and is all about themselves. Like, certain books can be deceptive for different reasons. Like, for example, a Christian would never be swayed by reading Aleister Crowley or Helena Blavatsky's work, but they might be moved a little bit and consider what the person selling if they read Alice Bailey's work, because while hers is completely Luciferian, it gives you a more cleaner look. So same way here, like a regular person that is just selfish, they will agree with a lot of the Satanic Bible because it's not completely radical and crazy metaphysical type of selfishness, if you see what I'm getting at. But basically, Anton LaVey's brand of Satanism was a tactic to lure people into darker things. Basically, it's entry-level Satanism, and it's really not that dangerous. While it's very evil, it's not super dangerous, but it can lead you into much more dangerous stuff. He authored The Satanic Witch, which is primarily about lesser magic, which he at least officially created. I'm sure people was doing it before him, but that is huge in media these days. Unbelievable. I don't know how much I'll be able to get into it about that with this episode, because I have a very large amount of material. He wrote the Satanic Rituals, which I don't know exactly how many he has in there. It has some Nazi rituals. It has some Lovecraft ones. I think it has like one that's like Crowley based, I think. He wrote The Devil's Notebook, Satan Speaks. 3 albums he put out called The Satanic Mass, Satan Takes a Holiday, and Strange Music. And came out with In Devil's Reign movie. He was a narrator for Death Scenes movie. He was called the Father of Satanism. In America, I would agree. He was called the Saint Paul of Satanism, the Black Pope, the evilest man in the world, which that's a complete like glazing of Anton. while he was a very, very evil man, there's many people that I've already talked about that was far worse than him. But what his major sin against the world was not specifically him choosing to reject God. It was pulling possibly altogether from all his different splinter groups and just random people like kids hearing about him and getting into it or hearing about it from music. I would say he roped in millions. And even if they did not become like a hardcore Satanist as they got older, the likelihood of them turning to Christ was very, very low. And I know a lot did, and thank the Lord for that. But it doesn't really matter if the person became a hardcore theistic Satanist or a very like soft tune closet case Satanists that kept their religion to themselves. It doesn't matter because you end up in the same place. Anton played piano at a Baptist church. Now, see, that's why I do like to humanize these people, because these people did have some past before they became evil. He joined the circus at 16, played the calliope. He was also a lion tamer. He was also an organist in bars. He also dated Marilyn Monroe. And you'll see that Anton has a line of deaths of women that follow him as well. And Marilyn Monroe is a whole different story. But she was mind control subject to one of the highest degrees. You would call it like the beta sex kitten programming. He worked for the San Francisco Police Department. He was a psychic investigator, which is somebody that you would call like if something very strange is going on around your house, but you don't want somebody to specifically take the spirit out or to stop the hauntings or whatever is going on, but you want answers of what it exactly is. So somebody that's not a fan of Christianity will call it a psychic investigator. He was also a paranormal researcher, which is somebody that either is interested or feels the need to research things of paranormal. Just like how I'm a very advanced occult researcher, because I felt the need to understand these things for the greater good, and I would say that's one of the best things that I ever did. And like, while I do have a strange I do have a strange testimony. It is if it was not for me just deciding through the Lord to start researching these occult topics after I was a backsliding Christian, I never would have been able to do any of this. And eventually that's what led me back to the Lord, when I realized how much there is to the other side. It also let me realize how much the godly side is real too, and how much I needed God. LaVey became a local celebrity in 1965. He got a lion and a leopard that was living with him for a while. Eventually, the law got involved and he had to get it taken away and all that stuff. But I'm not getting into that here. Now, he formed the Order of the Trapezoid. Now, the Order of the Trapezoid is an ancient order, an ancient satanic order that eventually went extinct. I would say probably before, it's somewhere between a little bit before Christ to after Christ. And Anton was one of the main people that brought the Order of the Trapezoid back. The Order of the Trapezoid is also part of the hierarchical structure of what people would call the Cabal, the Illuminati, um, or what I call just the hierarchy. Like the best thing you can do, look at those layers of brick on the dollar bill, and each layer on that dollar bill represents a more high level cult, with Blue Lodge Masonry starting at the bottom and Satan on top. Now, on Walpurgis, which is Beltane, which is one of the main satanic holidays, in 1966, Anton declared the year 1 of the Age of Satan. He performed the first satanic baptism to his 3-year-old daughter, Xena. Now, it obviously was not the first satanic baptism in history that happened. That would be crazy to say that. But this was the first one that was, like, publicized by the press, or at least any that got any big press. And there's a lot of very, very, very strange stuff about Xena. It's a interesting but very strange rabbit hole to go down. The main thing that people always talk about is how it just doesn't make sense how she looks so much like Taylor Swift. And Taylor Swift compared to Xena looks nothing like her parents. I've put out a different theory. I believe it's very possible that Taylor could have been a how do you say this, a willingly chosen victim to receive the recombinant DNA of Xena. Now, what is recombinant DNA? Say if somebody thought that I had some promise, so rather it's a mental, spiritual, psychological, metaphysical, sexual, something that's very, very unique that can't really be replaced, or very hard to replace. They take a part of my DNA, and there's many different ways you can do it: skin, fingertips, hair, and different gross things. There's no reason to talk about, but. And say if you put the DNA on just like a 10-year-old kid, by the time he is 38, 38, then he would pretty much have morphed into a very similar looking person as me. But that's a rabbit hole that I can't go down complete, because, like I said, I have a very large amount of material here. Now, he dedicated her to the left-hand path, which the left-hand path is just a term for basically a user of evil magic. Now, he was inspired by Friedrich Nietzsche, who is someone that shows up all the time. That's why eventually I had to make a video about him. He was he advocated for social Darwinism. He was also influenced by Ayn Ayn Rand re reworked um reworked Might is Right by Vasana. He was inspired by Redbeard, who he got accused of plagiarizing a lot of stuff in the Satanic Bible from, which is true. But people use excuses when they take these quotes, and then they'll try to deflect onto the person that made the quote and try to say, no, this is something that I was quoting. I don't really feel this way. But it's a way of escapism to not take credit for your own beliefs. He made a satanized version of the Enochian keys and the satanic and the Enochian keys are already satanic. Now, just because John Dee and Edward Kelly did not label any of their work and rituals as satanic, it was. A matter of fact, if you look at a lot of these satanic systems, occultists, groups, like back in the 14th, 15th, 16th, 17th, 18th century, they made things look Christian so they would not get in trouble. So any of this old stuff that talks out like a holy guardian angel, like the Abramelin magic stuff, that's why it uses biblical terms to throw people off, basically. Now, there was ritual Lovecraft drawings that he made, and now in 1975, Higher Degrees was announced because it had 5 degrees in the Satanic Temple up to MAGA or Magus, and I believe for sure that's where Donald Trump got the MAGA from. But I'm not getting into that right now. Now, in June 1975, Michael Aquino left to start the Temple of Set. Now, that's somebody that needs a very examined video. I would say he was much more dangerous than LaVey. He got kicked out of the Church of Satan for being so evil. He is the reason so many people have split personalities. He is the person behind Project Monarch. he is a unbelievably wicked man. Now, in 1980, the FBI interviewed LaVey in alleged murder plot of Ted Kennedy. Now he's had a lot of police interviews, but no arrests. That's what happens to people that's helping the government. Now, LaVey had above top secret clearance in the Pentagon, as just like Michael Aquino, because Anton LaVey pioneered the system of astral projecting very far away and tweaked it to make remote viewing. Now, say if the government is looking to assassinate some lead, some like terrorist leader in a third world country, and they can't find him because he ain't got no electronics. He doesn't allow anybody close to that area and he's living in like a bunker in some cave. The remote viewing bypasses all of that. That's why I have a completely different opinion when they start talking about how they're looking for some supreme leader. If they want to find a person, they will. Unless if Jesus Christ blocks the remote viewing. Now Anton's son, Xerxes Karnak, Satan LaVey, now I cannot verify this, but I've heard in what I would call good resources that I found online that Anton castrated Xerxes Xerxes Karnak LaVey, or let's just say Xerxes Satan LaVey, for a sacrifice to Satan, because Satan loves either murder or perversion. So castrating your son, I can see why someone very twisted would find that as a suitable offering for the Dark Lord. Now, Blanc Bardin became leader after Anton's death. And the current one, I believe, I will double check this before I post this, Peter H. Gilmore. And this is disputed. Obviously, there's no recording, so no one can disprove it, but they always say Anton LaVey's last words was, "Oh my, what have I done? Something is very wrong," or something to that sort. Now, I will go through this very quickly of what I believe happened from cross-examining the people that's into LaVeyan Satanism and on the side of Anton, to the people split down the middle, or people that's like hyper rationalists, and the side of Christians. So I'm gonna try to get through this really quick because there's a lot of material. But he did an interview. Pastor Dave, just type in Pastor Dave, Anton LaVey, will pop right up on YouTube. He claims that he was housing his runaway daughter that he was trying to birth a moon child from, which means the Antichrist. He believed that she could be the carrier of the final Antichrist. He put her through the 6 out of 7 rituals of defilement. She ran away because the seventh was, she said, was so horrible that she would die before she did it. Now Satan Xandor LaVey was trying to get her back desperately, doing crazy things to obtain more power. They would keep leaving like dead animals in their yard, and was going after their shirts, their friends, and just on and on and on. This went on for several months. Then eventually, he said on Halloween night he was gonna take her back. Now through metaphysics and astral projecting, he was still able to um possess her. The girl, I can't remember what they were calling her exactly right off the top. I think they were using an alias for the most part, but supposedly he did take her back, and out of desperation, Pastor Dave, or just Dave, said that they were going to go Old Testament and go over there with their guns to take her back. And then he said that the Lord spoke to him and said, cut his silver cord. And the silver cord is mentioned in the Bible. The silver cord is what links the spirit to where we originally came from, because God puts the spirit in us from up there. Our soul is connected to above the firmament. When we take our last breath, it happens slowly. That's why people have last words. But we start to reflect on life from those last words. And but anyways, he said that God told him to cut Anton's silver cord, and supposedly, while they were praying, it cut while he was astral projecting, which leaves you even more vulnerable. So when it's cut when you're astral projecting, there's basically not even any self-defense you can do. Then they said after they cut his silver cord, Xena astral projected and took over the body of the girl that they were housing, and then they attempted to cut hers too, but she jumped back into her body too quick. Sorry, I know that was a lot, but this is just a very important thing to get out. And you never hear people bring up the real story. And also, the death dates are very, very suspicious. Now, we have a very advanced archive system, but the day that these events occurred and the day that they claimed Anton died do not add up. And even people in Anton's circle has said that he had died on Halloween, while other people that are more on the side of the cops keep trying to say that was the 28th. But I believe that that Pastor Dave's story was true. Okay. So Xena and Nicholas Schreck, it was the wife of the husband of Xena, who's an extremely evil man who needs his own episode. He is also still alive, and he just wants a complete massacre of basically 95% of the population. He's horrible. Now, they claimed his story was fake and made up in 1998. And I don't really believe them. to me, they seemed like they was trying to get publicity. But also, I do believe that he could have made up some of his story just to sound better. Now, Anton claimed that the Yazidis and Knights Templar was carriers of the satanic tradition. Now, I've gone over the Knights of Templar um, a, a ridiculous amount of times on these videos, but in case this is someone's first time, I'll do it again in a very short way. Basically, they were supposed to be the Pope's holy army. They claimed to be poor, but they were richer than the Pope and the King of France. They were also involved in sodomy, the worship of Baphomet, homosexuality, um, extortion, basically just all around horrible people. The King of France did not know how to get out of the debt that he owed them, because they at this point they owned half his country. He waited till the Pope died so he could put a Pope on the throne that he could manipulate. He got him to send out warrants for the Knights Templar, and on Friday the 13th, I believe 1314, they sent out the warrants, arrested them all, and then very shortly after that, they burned the leader, Jacques de Molay, at the stake, while a lot of the other ones retreated and escaped over to Scotland with the money. And this monster, Jacques de Molay, that was a devil worshipper, worshipped Baphomet, a homosexual, a sodomite, and a pederast. He was burned at the stake. And when you see the de Molay, or the Order of the de Molay, the Masonic youth group, that's who they idolize. That's who they think is a great role model for the youth. Okay, and the Yazidis, they are a sect over in the Middle East. Well, they've been able to expand, but they've always been accused of devil worship. They mix Christianity, Islam, metaphysics, black magic into it. It's kind of like a new agey um tradition, except in like third world, like Arabic countries. You don't really hear about much over here. Now, he was a supporter of eugenics. With eugenics, while young people don't really know this word very often, eugenics is what basically is one of the main things that sparked Hitler's rampage, even though it was more of Heinrich that came up with all of these unbelievable plots. He was influenced by eugenics, social Darwinism, and Blavatsky. But eugenics is basically you would pick a male that had a good genealogy when it came to physical and mental health, that was attractive, that was successful and good at the stuff he did. Then you would find a woman that was not only was equally good with everything and had a good bloodline and good line of success, but you would also go further and look at her race, genealogy, and look at the odds of them making a successful baby. But nowadays, eugenics has been repackaged as genetics, and basically this in vitro 23andMe and CRISPR and all that type of stuff is the next generation of eugenics, and it's very disgusting. He did not like rock or metal, which is surprising. Now, he went on Joe Pine, where Joe Pine really took everything as a joke. He laughed at him, taunted him a lot, and then I believe he was dead in 3 months. A lot of people believe Anton put a curse on him. It's that famous clip where he's saying the curse sign thing, and he does the horns. That one. Now, he was a consultant to Rosemary's Baby, and he also had a cameo as the devil in it. Now, Rosemary's Baby is a very charged movie that came out during the revival of Satanism in America. And I say the revival because it was a big thing in the late 1800s. It just wasn't broadcasted and used as propaganda. And it was about this woman carrying the Antichrist, basically having sex with a worthy, basically you could say donor, I guess. And Anton LaVey played the devil in the movie. But now, C was Sharon Tate, who was the first like mainstream murder of the Manson family cult. And the director Roman Polanski was dating Sharon Tate as well, or he did very shortly after the film, if he was not already. And it's also worth noting that it was the same building that John Lennon got put down in when a radical fundamentalist Christian went bang, then put him out. And while I don't want to see people burn, after all the horrible stuff he said about Christ, it's why I forgive him. Then it's also just difficult to feel like he did not eventually have something bad coming, if you understand what I'm saying. But eventually Roman Polanski was charged for all these sexual crimes, but he fled the country to where he could not be extradited. Sorry. Now, he was also involved with Invocation of My Demon Brother. I believe played the devil in that as well. That was one of the things that Kenneth Anger was involved with, who was a very evil, demonic homosexual. I have a whole video about him, so I don't need to reiterate it, but he did live with Anton and his family for a while, and he was Zena's godfather. He was involved with Satan's, The Devil's Mask, The Devil's Reign, Death Scenes, Peak of the Devil, the Canon of Anton LaVey. Now, he combined humanism and hedonism. And humanism is is all about not um, caring about any type of religious dogmas or morals and going back to the ways of the old of just basically doing what makes you feel good or happy. It's like in the 14th century when humanism started, it was like an early version of do what thou wilt, but with more moral guidelines. He also basically pioneered pop psychology. Now, this would have happened eventually anyways because of Michael Aquino, but like all the subliminal messages that you see in these television shows, these cartoons, media, video games, books, when you go shopping and see all these strange logos everywhere, um, well, actually, let's just focus on the pop thing, because by that, just any type of media. But basically, he's the one that pioneered it. He's the one that told them, look, if you want to invoke these feelings in somebody, do this, put these symbols in there, do that, and they'll be more likely to, society will become more likely, to, um, start to wrap around these concepts that you put in them. He was a big pusher for the human potential movement, which kind of gets a very bad stigma, because there's nothing wrong with believing that we have uh, basically unlimited amount of potential, because Jesus Christ said that we could do greater things. Now, can we be greater than Jesus? Absolutely not. That would be blasphemy. But we can do more than him because of the Holy Spirit that he puts inside of his believers. And Jesus did all that in only just 3 years, and he's given us a very long time. But people are not living up to their potential. That's the problem. He also invented the satanic archetype, like I was talking about earlier, instead of um uh, instead of viewing Satan as any type of fallen angel or just an evil man or whatever was the mindset of the masses. He said this is not a real being, but there is an archetype that has power that we can draw from. Which, like I said, that got people that normally would not join to join. He believed in pride, carnality. He also believed humans to be animals, which so many people believe in, which is very, very, very sad. And I've heard Christians that believe in that. And like I say, I don't really know what else to say, but just sad. When you take on that belief system that we are nothing more than animals, you walk away from believing that we have um any type of divine spark of divinity inside of us, or that we even have the Holy Spirit in us. Um, we are far beyond an animal. Just look at us and compare us to them. While they are better at some things, they are obviously on a completely different category of existence than us. Now, he also has a quote where he says, I believe he said just like this: or close. Man is no more than a beast, sometimes for better, but for the most part worse. So, for any like lavey Satanist, this Darwinism thing is gonna show up constantly. Now, I believed in a moral universe, individualism. Now, individualism, that's pretty much self-explanatory. Each person believing just what they in themselves. Egoism, that's embracing a God complex or superiority complex or whatever type of psychology label they throw on it. Instead of it being a bad thing, he believed it to be good. Now, I would argue against the ego being bad, because the ego is what can give people motivation that they normally would not have. But it can very easily be a bad thing, but it can also be good or help for good. Like I said, the social Darwinism, and anti-egalitarianism, materialism, philosophical naturalism, body-soul dualism, rejected the afterlife, believed magic should be used for material gain and influential harm, success, and sex. So, like I said, he did not have any care for anybody else, just all about himself. I'm not gonna explain all those different philosophical views he has, because I just want this to focus on him and not all these different um philosophical systems, because pretty much they're pretty much all the same and just worded different, with the beliefs being mixed around. Like, while I only study it to understand what other people believe and think, I'm personally not a fan of philosophical material myself. Now he claims psychological catharsis to power up greater magic. Now, greater magic, the difference is lesser magic or lower magic, greater magic, high magic. Lower magic focuses on stuff like, um, I want to be pretty, or I want a new lover, I want to look good, I want money, I want a better job, stuff like that. Pretty much what probably 95% of the population would pick if they start taking up magic. Then greater magic is when you're basically invoking deities down and trying to make a change um to your own soul and spirit. And basically, greater magic is when things get really dangerous. While all of it's dangerous, obviously some more so than others. He believed in psychotherapy and psychological manipulation. Because remember, like the whole thing of this satanic Bible is could be summed up as do not care about what happens to others. Do not care if your actions destroy other people. Do not care if masses of people off themselves because of what you said or did, but only worry about what you accomplished, only worry about how much you benefited off of it. It throws morals out the door. Now, this applied psychology thing, that's very linked to lesser magic, very, very much. It pretty much goes hand in hand. But I would say the only difference is applied psychology is when it's done to a specific person or demographic, while lesser magic is pretty much just towards everybody and anyone. He taught glamour magic, which is how to look better. Now he taught deception and how to blend a situation or person using lesser magic, which can easily be done if you know what you're doing with that type of stuff. Now, he claimed that he was practicing and teaching rational Satanism, which is when you involve yourself in Satanism, but you still have rational beliefs. Basically, like any type of the beliefs that, like the so-called founding fathers would call, like deist beliefs, um, or oh shoot, how do I word this? Like, oh, the Age of Enlightenment. That's pretty much the best way to put it. Or the Age of Reason, and that's what they called all that stuff. Basically, he was saying that it's Satanism with the Age of Reason philosophy combined to it. Now he believed in self-religion, which is basically finding your own truth. Now we're starting to see Thelema blend in here. Now I am Christian. I'm a fundamentalist Christian. I believe that Jesus is the only way to heaven. But what I do, I guess you could say, have an axe to grind with is organized Christianity, because one of the reasons why I walked away from obeying the Lord's commandments when I was younger is because I became just very, I guess you could say, um, frustrated with the system of the church, and being a teenager, I just wanted to experience what everyone else did, and I experienced what everyone else did, and probably 10 times more than the regular person my age ever did. So I've 100% seen both sides of life, and I feel like the Lord let me do that so He could prepare me um, for something very great. But anyways, now this self-religion thing, what brought me back to the Lord was realizing that I did not have to have this dogmatic type of um like this very dogmatic, hyper religious um expectations of me. And throughout the past 4 to 5 years, the Lord Jesus Christ has given me so many different ways to think about things, and he's even given me a very unique form of of Christianity, but with my own worship ceremonies, praise ceremonies, show me how to get closer with him just in very simple ways that anybody can do, um, and has shown me that it's not about like a very hierarchical structure of obeying tiny rules that aren't even really in the Bible, like I was doing when I was involved with different Pentecostal organizations. And while I completely do stand on almost the majority of almost all their doctrine, the little part that I did not agree with is what was just completely eating away at me until I eventually left. But what I've done through the Lord Jesus Christ is I've taken the belief system of the Bible, which is very, very, very solid. But they sometimes they just expect too much out of people. But I've taken their wonderful belief system, and I basically fused it with what the Lord has revealed to me in the past several years. And I've taken it much, much, much further than any Pentecostal preacher or minister I've ever met. And I also have developed a belief in studying the enemy. And I know to some people this would sound weird, but I got closer to God than I ever imagined I would by unearthing all this evil. And I feel like because I made the mistake of immersing myself in it, which I've explained what all happened to me in in many different places. The last place is on my channel when I have my interview. I explain it pretty good at the beginning of that. So, but what I'm getting at is for people that are having a hard time with the search system, ask God to show you uh, um, a system of worship that works for you if you're not happy with what organized religion is offering, because there's many ways to worship Christ in spirit and in truth without the harsh um uh, um views of organized religion that can just make you like not feel like much of an individual anymore, because that's how I began to feel. Okay, sorry about that. Now he did not like the New Age at all, because he did not like people that went back and forth about um what they liked and what they believed in, but would not put Satan into it. He thought it was just like um people that wanted to play around and wanted the benefits that Satan had to offer, but would not admit that they were using Satan for it. He also did not like people that tried to separate black magic from white magic, because he said that they're both from the same source, which is probably the only thing that the Holy Bible and the Satanic Bible can relate with. Now, he was influenced by John Milton and Paradise Lost. Now, I would say that a very large amount of the hierarchy is definitely influenced by John Milton and Paradise Lost. And what's dangerous about that is they try to humanize Satan and make us look like the bad people for not supporting Satanism. Now, he used Christianity as a negative mirror. He claimed it would soon die. Which it never did, and it's not going to. Now, he believed in this carnality atheism thing, which is pretty much like a just very barbaric atheism. So, just aggressive atheism, which is what you see from the Satanic Temple group. Now this social stratification thing. Now, he was influenced by Herbert Spencer and Survival of the Fittest. And that's what's interesting, is that's a name that really just keeps on popping up over and over and over and over again when I influence these people. When I research these people, this Herbert Spencer just keeps on coming up. Now, he came up with the Survival of the Fittest thing, and I believe that a whole video just about him is needed, because a lot of people were influenced by him. Now, he made the 9 satanic statements. It's pretty much like just a reversed version of the 10 Commandments. Now, he believed in objectivism, which is the philosophical system of people end up believing in a truth set forth by a group of people instead of opinion or truth set up by multiple individuals. Like I said, all these philosophies just all overlap and blend in together. He claimed to believe in liberty and nonconformists, which that I would agree that he definitely did believe in that. He encouraged the 7 deadly sins. Now, his magic was inspired by Aleister Crowley. Now, I will give, I did not plan this, but I will give a very good example right now of how he was absolutely influenced by Crowley. So, Crowley has a very popular quote, and I'm probably paraphrasing a little bit, but it's fine. where he says magic is the ability to cause change in the world through action. So then you have Anton LaVey's Satanic Bible and the Satanic rituals that teach that you can make change happen through concentrated energy and intent put into these rituals. For example, you have let's just use the ritual of lust and the ritual of destruction. In those rituals that he taught, you would either put a gigantic amount of your will and your energy and emotions into either destruction or a new sexual partner or lover, and he believed that it made it work at least the majority of the time, and you got the exact same thing that Crowley said, and you're reiterating it in different ways. Now, while he made these claims that he did not believe in breeders or hurting animals or any of that, you see that he admitted to human sacrifices through curses and hexes, and he has actually been compared to Christian Science and Scientology. Now, LaVey developed the synchronizer clock, which is a pretty interesting contraption. He believed in iconoclasm, which is just a way of believing in ideals of different what you call icons from the past, but it all just rolls over into the same philosophies pretty much. Like you could spend all day trying to make long debates about what each one means. Now, this is what I find very disturbing here. It's because of and I find it disturbing because of the way humanity is going, at least in America, because I don't really like to speak on other countries because I don't have a direct feel for them. So, LaVey had a goal to create artificial human companions, and what do we see now? It's looking like he might, like, either he was onto something, or either or if he knew something that a lot of people didn't, because back then, even up until, I don't know when he made that statement, but even up until his death, very few people was thinking of that being a reality, especially if he said it during the 60s or 70s. He pushed extramarital sex. He was very big on the Baphomet usage. Now now what's right on his logo. It's making a perverted version of the Tetragrammaton with the seal of Baphomet in the middle of it. Now he believed in the so-called elixir of life, which is another way of saying the great work, or the golden juice, or ambrosia, the fountain of youth, any of these ancient immortality um, beliefs just always pop back up. And this is because deep inside these people's hearts, even if they've sinned so far and just given up their humanity to where they've committed the unpardonable sin, deep down inside, they want to escape that hellfire. He would blaspheme God even more by having nude females on the altar, because an altar is supposed to be made for the God of the Bible, Yahweh. Now, lavey developed black mass um, and black mass is pretty much a reverse of the Catholic mass, where and I'm sorry I have to repeat something so terrible, but we're almost done here, if that's some good news. Now, black mass is okay. So Catholicism believes in transubstantiation, that the wine and the bread is literally turned into the blood and body of Jesus Christ. Now, Satanists believe that as long as you're an ordained Catholic priest, because to be a satanic priest, you have to be a Catholic priest as well. And a lot of times these Catholic priests, they'll do like a switcheroo. They will become a satanic priest and give the Satanist the Catholic priest. Yeah, while you give them the satanic priest. How do you say it? Initiation. So, it's pretty much just passing the torch on each side. And the reason why is the transubstantiation or the Eucharist. So during these black masses, whoever the Satanist is that has that's been initiated by a Catholic priest, they believe that they are literally turning the wine and the bread into Jesus Christ, and they will torture the bread, or the wafers that they use. They will do horrible things to these wafers, like stick them in the vaginas of women, stick them up different orifices of the body, stomp on it, do any perverse thing you can imagine. And same thing with the wine. They'll do horrible things with the wine, like cut themselves and let blood gush into it, put it in their mouth and spit it back out with their saliva, spit inside of it. Just really horrible things. Same thing that the Orto Temple Orientis does as well. Really horrible stuff. Now he published the Call to Cthulhu ritual, which is one of the most dangerous things that he ever published, because people think that like the Necronomicon and these Lovecraftian beings are fake, but unfortunately they are all too real. Do not take any of that stuff lightly, or do not take Kenneth Grant's work lightly, because they are very, very real and unimaginably dangerous. These great old ones is basically a subcategory of the secret chiefs, and they are nothing to be messed with. It's no joke. And same with all these demons. Do not mock them. Just call on the Lord to help you, and and ask the Lord to send them back where they came from. Now, he signed an Old Ones pact and Lovecraftian language. Because, see, there's been a few sorcerers through history and a few in modern history that has somehow managed to learn how to manipulate these things. But these things don't want people's worship. They want just to kill you and devour your energy. And I would say out of everything, the Lovecraftian magic stuff is one of the most dangerous holes you can ever go down. And I say holes because of horrible things that those Typhon tunnels require, just unspeakable. But when he says that he wants the ambrosia, he realized what was necessary for that. And I'll just say it like this. While I have explained it before, there's very few people in the world that would be willing to do what you have to do to achieve the physical immortality, because one day they'll be judged anyways, and and they won't have spiritual immortality, because that's what matters. Well, they will, but it'll be in hell, and that's what matters a lot more. He practiced ESP, um, spiritual cannibalism, torture. He had Kenneth Grant memoirs, and Kenneth Grant was who Crowley left all of his work to continue, and continue he did. He created the horrible group known as the Typhonian OTO, and he just he made a monstrous system, starting with his works, Night Side of Eden, and it's just so terrible. I don't even really want to discuss it. It's based off these tunnels of Set magical system, and Kabbalism, specifically the Qliphoth, and just the most evil part of the Kabbalah that you can imagine. Now, some of the famous people that was in there, that was in his Church of Satan, that was known, because a lot was in there but slipped through the cracks. Michael Harner, Sammy Davis Jr., and Jane Mansfield is the big one. And so he was somewhat dating Jane Mansfield. She had like kind of like a celebrity coach, kind of, named Samuel Brody, or might have been Sam Brody. I think it was Samuel Brody. He told her, "Look, this does not look good for your Hollywood resume. You will lose roles because of this. You will lose fans because of this. You need to stay away from Anton LaVey. You need to leave the Search of Satan." C would go back and pillow talk to Anton LaVey. He did not like what he heard. He said, "You have to stay away from Samuel Brody. I put a curse on him." C goes probably horn about and then ends up with Samuel Brody again. And the news really covered this up, swept it under the rug. But then they ended up in a car wreck where they both just got beheaded. Now they try to say that it was only Samuel Brody, but I found reports that says it was her too, or maybe both, or just him. But it at the end of the day, it doesn't matter a gigantic amount if it was both or just one, because she did not survive, and probably did not have the sense to repent, even if she even wanted to repent. And later Anton was asked about this, and basically all he said was, once the magic is unleashed, there's no cutting it off, and there's no controlling it once the spell is loosed. And he did not feel any remorse for it at all. Now, Charles Manson was a priest in the Search of Satan, and if people want like a little bit of evidence that Anton was working for government agencies, like I said, they need to start around that area, that he was involved with all these different murders or different serial killers, but he was never looked at it as anything, not even somebody go get like statements from. And he also had a relationship with the American Nazi Party, because like I was saying, he did take a very big interest in Hitler and Heinrich Himmler and Nazi Germany in general. So did Michael Aquino. There's Nazi rituals in the Satanic Rituals book, and I'm surprised it never got called out for white supremacy. In today's society, they probably would have. And that's pretty much everything. I hope that this has been enlightening, because there's a lot that is not really talked about him that I felt needed to come forth. So I hope that this did the job. Have a good rest of the night.